Yo, what's up, guys? I think that this is an interesting one. How many free-to-play LDs can you get if you play all content in the game and let's say you get G3 in most, if not all, and we're just gonna go for it. Idea actually came during a stream. I did already record all of this, or at least I did already make all of the math on it, and I'm gonna show you that. But the reason that I actually do want to show this as well is because some people are just slightly delusional of saying certain things. Reddit is always like the greatest place for people that are slightly delulu. So we have this guy, I am wailing no more, and it's because of Sei and Sean B. Well, me and Sean B did you a favor. Now you can spend a lot of money on other stuff. Like, I don't see the problem. But apparently I pulled a triple S Wooyoung and Tian Lang back-to-back in a week. I got a lot to learn about this game if Wooyoung is triple S. Also, back-to-back, I pulled one on the 31st of December and the other one was on the 18th of January. But sure. Let's actually see what this guy normally posts himself, because maybe he's just like a really free-to-play player that maybe spends a little bit. He pulled a Veronica from a dupe that he had the day before. So he pulled back-to-back LD5 within one day. And then he pulled a Sarath a few days later and then another Sarath. Okay, and I'm the lucky one with the triple S Wooyoung, that's for sure. However, what are all the contents? Well, I think I'm kind of in the way. I'm gonna place myself over here and then put this thing over there. This maybe helps a little bit more. But what are all the contents that you can do, that you can get scrolls from? And first we have to establish a few things. We can translate scrolls, such as mystical scrolls, into LND scrolls. So 200 mystical scrolls is the average for a net 5. And you get 3.33 for that. So that's a divider by 60. We're going to go for LS. That is the legendary scroll. And you need 15.3 for that. And then it's 3.33 LDs as well. And that is a divider by 4.62. Then an all attribute technically has more value than a light and dark scroll. And with that, you get a multiplier of 1.143 of the worth of it. Technically, it's more than that, but I kind of did it in a butcher way at the end, because every all attribute scroll still have a chance to get a net 5, and that net 5 then you can therefore translate towards an LD. So it's technically this plus this, but you cannot really put a divider and a multiplier together, so I just butchered it at the end later. Then we're looking at, okay, what are all of the contents that you can do to get scrolls in? First of all, I want to ask you, if you're watching this video, how much do you think that you can get LDs per week? So how many LD scrolls do you think you can get per week, and how many per year? Let me know that in the comments, because we had a lot of people saying like, oh, that should be like 100 LDs per year, or that should be like 500 or 1,000 or something like that. The answers were very diverse and no one actually knew. So that's why I went in and I went through all of the content. I don't think I'm missing anything over here. The only thing that I did exclude, like this one is set to 0 at the first place, so don't really mention this. I just did that for like checking like how much do you have to spend to get the same worth that you can get all free to play. Keep in mind, this player that we're talking about is getting G3 and everything. Might you be like, yeah, that's super unrealistic? Well, then we can just simply cross out things like lower and lower to the point like, okay, what is realistic? So just mind on that. It is full free to play, but we're not including world boss, siege boxes, events, subjugation, and codes. And actually, events nowadays, I would say events drop a good amount of LDs. And we're translating every dupe into a LD scroll as well. Plus, we make the assumption that we have all units already, which is maybe a little bit unrealistic, but just for the idea of it to not make things overcomplicated and things really strange. So we're starting off first with Arena. For the Arena rank, if you get G3, you can get 1.4 in the worth of LD scrolls by just simply having the reward kicking in over here. I did make a video about that before already, like what kind of weekly reward do you get if you get what kind of rank and how much does it actually improve. Might you say G3 is very unrealistic, then you can definitely say like, okay, you do that to punish a 3 and you make this a bit less for that reason. You make that like 0.8 rather than 1.4. Then we also, of course, have the Arena shop, which we made the assumption that you do actually get the shop finished by the 15 over here. I get that most of the time. I personally... when I was making these videos, these people were like, no, that's unrealistic. No one finishes like 15. Well, I got 3 days left. I still have these amount of points. So technically, I think I can do way more than this. So yeah, this is actually something like I could have done more than this. We also, if we have mystical scrolls to translate them into this, we use the divider that we have over here to get the amount over there. And then we have the total amount of LDs on the right side. So simple as that. Then we have the interserver arena, which is also content that a lot of people don't really do. So what I did for this is I went through this, I went through the rewards tab, and I went through all of this, just checking how much can you actually get from all of these. So I put that in a side tab. So we made the assumption that you win all 25 out of 25. You're minimally playing in the top 4 teams. Therefore, you get per week, just as a victory, the 4.2k. Like, you cannot really influence your defense, but you can influence your offense. That does mean that we're getting this amount of points per week every time. Then we have a season win is also going to give you this point. So we're going to make that assumption because Europe is OP. And then we're also going to add in the 5 seasons. However, then the amount that you get per season. So therefore, we're calculating whatever scrolls are coming from that reward track that I showed earlier over here, which are all of these rewards in one track. Then we're going to multiply that per season. Like, how many times can you actually finish that? Well, it's possible to finish it 2.4 times, and therefore you get these kind of numbers. But we have to, of course, divide them by 8 to get back to the number of what you would get per week. And then we also did include having 5 seasons on, 3 seasons off, and making it an 8-week cycle of that way. And therefore, we get these numbers of how much you can get per week if you win everything. And then we have the LS pieces added together from like the pieces and the scroll itself. So we get to those numbers, which are then the numbers that we see over here. And in total, you can get a 1.32 LD scroll from interserver per week if you're winning everything in minimum top 4 teams. So that is definitely a lot more than I expected from that. Then, of course, we have the guild shop. Well, that is the shop that everyone does already probably know. We have the shop over here where you normally buy these LD pieces, and then you're gonna go for scrolls. Let's see how much I did in here. We made the assumption that you can buy 25 mystical scrolls while also still buying the LD pieces. So the LD pieces is about a 700 for a buy. And then I would say that normally I can finish more than this. We still have a guild war going on. So if not guild war, we have a siege going on. After that siege, I can definitely buy more of these. And then if you do all guild content, I think you end up around like 20 to 25-ish. In this case, we took a little bit higher one, but I think 25 in most cases is pretty doable. Then we also have the World Guild Battle, of course. And World Guild Battle, once again, we have this EXP track, and I just added in all of those things from the EXP track once again. Same thing as with the Interserver Guild Battle, the amount of victories, we have the number of hits. So you have 2 guild battles, so therefore you have 2 times a 10 hit, because the 10 hit is you have 2 battles of 5. So 5 times 2, and that times 2 again is 20. Therefore, we're taking the account that you win 1 guild battle and you lose 1 guild battle. That gives you the points of this much per week. Therefore, you have the amount of points per week. And then we can actually put all of that in there again as well. Then in this case, we would need a divider to see per week how much can we actually clear of the track. So this is the rewards of the full track. But we have to get that divider of the 100k points that we need. But we only get this amount of points. So therefore, we actually get these values for World Guild Battle. So once again, World Guild Battle is a little bit more than people expect as well. That is 1.1. That is a decent amount compared to, for example, what Siege might give. But Siege is a little bit misleading, mainly because Siege is fit in the guild shop as well. Same for Guild Battle. It's technically like partially the guild shop as well. However, Siege, I did not include the boxes because the boxes have an RNG chance to get either scrolls or an LD scroll straight up. So that is a little bit harder to calculate. But let's see what we did for Siege. So Siege, once again, same thing as before. We have a track. You do now know where the tracks are to find. We do have the number of battles. We make the assumption that you win all of your battles. Once again, this is the maximum amount of points that you get. We did also make the assumption you win 1 siege battle and you lose 1 siege battle. Or I think you got first ones and you got third ones. So we make that assumption. Then this is the divider of how much you can actually clear of the track every week. And therefore, we put that divider to these numbers, and those are the numbers that we end up for Siege. So therefore, Siege also gives close to a 1.4 LD scroll per week. Then the next up is the RTA shop. Well, the RTA shop has the free LD in there in the first place. This really depends on like how much RTA you do. That's more of a content that some people play some wings a day. Some people play a lot of wings a day. You have those LD scrolls over here, which is straight up like 50. That's a full LD scroll, but that's once per month. Then we also have like the mystical scrolls over here, and most of the time you're able to finish a few of those. So we made the assumption that you buy always the LD scrolls, but we also divided that to the point where it is per week rather than per month. That's just the simple like times 12 divided by 52. And then for the scrolls, we made the assumption that you can buy 45. That is a decent amount of RTA, keep that in mind. So but then still RTA can give you 1 LD scroll per week. Then we have a few of the TOA things in here. These are all of the numbers that you get from TOA. Of course, in TOA Hard, you get the LS. In TOA Hell, you get the all attribute. We do keep in mind that we are free to play, but we're playing all content in the game, so therefore we're clearing all stages, and therefore you have 10 mystical scrolls from that. But then we also, of course, have to divide that, which are the numbers over here, once again, times 12 divided by 52 to get the weekly base of that. Which are these numbers respective? You have to keep in mind, I didn't actually mention that, is that I did mention that the all attribute has a chance to pull normal net 5, which you can then also translate to a LD scrolls as well. I couldn't really fix that in here, but I fixed it in a butchering way where I would simply say like, okay, the LS value is also the same as the attribute value, or it's like adding the attribute value. So I have the base value of the LS value plus the attribute value in there. Technically, an all attribute scroll is worth a little bit more because the rate of a net 5, a normal net 5, is higher than an LS scroll. But it was just the easy way of just adding that in here as well. And therefore you see for the TOA Hell also the 0.23 in there, because that is the value of the all attribute being an LS technically as well. But still, all of that together is about 1 LD scroll per week. Then we have, of course, crafting. With crafting, we make the assumption that you get the full crafting of both of those every week, and therefore it is possible to get these amount of numbers, which then also adds into 0.4 LD scroll per week. Then we have the daily rewards, which also does have 1 LD piece, which we can add there, which does add up to a little bit more of a scroll as well. Then we also have the monthly rewards. Those are the daily check-in rewards, which are the ones that you can find right over here, which also gives a bunch of mystical scrolls and then an LD scroll at the end, which also gives you a 0.28 of that. And then we have one thing is like, okay, how much do you actually farm? And because of farming, you get mystical scrolls, and because of the mystical scrolls, you can translate them to LDs as well. Well, I did do a simple calculation over here. Let's say you do 1k of crystals per day. Might you ask, where do you get 1k crystals per day free to play? Well, if you clear all content over here that we see over here, I definitely do think that you get at least 1k crystals per day. So then we can crunch those numbers down to like the refreshes, and then we drop that into the rate of getting you a mystical scroll per. And that simply adds up to a 2.8 mystical scroll per 1,000 crystals farmed. Which then also one thing that I did forget, this is actually if you do that per day. So this is 1k crystals per day. We actually have to times 7 this, because that is the amount of in a week. So we have to crunch those numbers up a little bit more. Also 0.33 LDs per that. Then this was a line that I currently removed, but I'm going to abuse that line later for checking how much does it add in if you do get a 100 pack or something like that. So let's see right now. These are all of the LDs that you get in total. Let's crunch those numbers. We are able to get on this account that gets G3, plays all content, 9.54 LD scrolls per week. What does that mean for the amount of LDs per year? Simple. Times 52, you get 496 LDs per year, which equals to 1.7 LD5 on average free to play. And might you say like, oh, this is very unreasonable to get. Let's say that you're spending a little bit and you're doing still all content. This is if you play the most effective you can in this game, this is the amount of LDs on average. That's one thing that you cannot see right there. It is on average. You could be lucky, you could be unlucky. But these are the amount of average LDs you can get per year, which is actually a decent, insane amount. And the fun fact is, the part, like, let's say you cannot get all of your mystical scrolls into LDs. These are the amount of LD scrolls of the 9.5 that you get that are from other scrolls rather than LD scrolls itself. And that is definitely a thing that people do not really understand. It's like, yeah, but I played 3,000 days and blah, blah, blah. I don't get any LD5s. Like, yeah, someone that already has pretty much every net 5 has pretty much almost the double amount of chance to get an LD5 because you got all of the net 5s, and therefore all of those net 5s that you get translate into LD5s, or at least into LD scrolls and therefore LD5s. So that's definitely a big factor. But let's say we do a 109 euro pack right now. Most of the time, 109 euro pack would give you a 60 mystical scrolls. And then the worth of LDs in those are mostly around 7. That is where we can see that we went from a 496 to a 912. But that means that we're buying a pack every week. So we're buying a 110 euro pack every week. So that would net up to like 5.5k euros in a year or something along those lines. that does actually mean that if you play all free-to-play content, more or less, you're getting the value of like 5K a year that you don't have to spend. And sure, that is playing all content and getting high ranks, but let's say that we crunch down those numbers a little bit. Let's say we don't do that well in Arena, we get Punisher rank. Okay, we go down a little bit. We still play all of this to get like a decent amount of rank in that. Let's say we actually do something smarter, which is not calculated in this. Normally, you could do this on a 10+1. So all of these mystical scrolls here, you could technically times 10% if you only do them during a 10+1 rather than using them all the time. So therefore, you get 10% extra value on all of your mystical scrolls, which could add in like a little bit as well. But let's just crunch down a bunch of numbers. Let's say the interserver arena, we do less good in that. We do the shop, we still do. Guild shop, we still do. Guild battle, let's say, guild battle in lower ranks, you don't get that much less, but let's just crunch those numbers down to this. And let's crunch those numbers down to this. RTA shop, you can still, even at lower ranks, you can probably still finish this if you do all of your RTA. TOA, everyone should just be doing, and the other stuff you should still be doing. Then we're still looking at 7.8 LD scrolls, and that's already crunching down a lot more numbers of saying like, okay, you're not G3, you're a lot lower than that. But we can also make the different assumption saying like, okay, let's say that you're a lazy ass and you are not rushing. You are actually getting your arena in, but only for the LD scrolls, but not all of them. For interserver arena, you're not qualified, so you're not doing that. Guild shop, you're only getting the LD scrolls because you're a lazy ass and you're not doing guild content. Guild battle, you didn't want to be signed up because you didn't actually want to do anything. Siege you didn't want to do because you hate RNG, blah, 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 that kind of stuff. RTA, you do a little bit, but just you're getting the LD scrolls over there. And then sure, you clear TOA normal and hard, but you don't like to do TOA hell, so you're not doing those. In that case, we're looking at 2.3 LD scroll. That was 9 before. For you being a lazy ass. And sure, you might be like, yeah, but this game is not a job. It's like, yes, it's not. Like, you play this game because you like it or you don't, and you want to invest time because you like it or you don't. Well, also, let's say you're not farming up back to 2. But the thing is, if you want to get the most amount of, like, efficiency progression out of this game, then yes, you got to min-max a lot of these numbers. You got to actually do the content. You got to play something to improve. It's like, oh my god, I got to play the game to improve in the game? How is that a thing? Like, I just want to be collecting days and then complain about X, Y, and Z pulling all kinds of shit, where you're pulling in 2 LDs per week free to play, and I'm pulling in those 9.5. Well, I'm pulling in at least 9, let me tell you that much. So, yeah, that's definitely a huge difference of that. Plus, I'm also spending a little bit. Plus, I also have all of these units already, so this is also like, let's say you're missing a lot of net 5s, you're only pulling in like 1.8. And yeah, then you're getting 0.3 LD a year, where I get 1.7 LD a year. I get more of those because I do also spend, and I spend way too much, and I don't recommend other people to do that. But it does give you kind of an understanding. It's like, okay, if you're slacking on a lot of content, how much does that cost you for getting LDs? And being like, oh, I got 3,000 days in, but I got 0 LD5s. It's like, yeah, if you, let me just do that. Let me crunch those numbers down. Let's say you're not playing any of this shit. So you're not doing these. You're not doing these. You're not doing, let's say you're not even in a guild. You're not doing that. You're not doing that. You're not doing this. This you don't like to do TOA normal and hard. You do because you think you get like crazy rewards from that. Crafting, let's say you do those and you don't do farming as well. Then, yeah, you need on average about 4 years to get an LD5 from just doing all of that. Sure, you can get a few over here as well. But then you also have most people getting like shit ton of breaks in there. Maybe you get a little bit unlucky. Well, actually, these numbers, because you're also missing all kinds of net 5, so therefore you're not getting these as well. This. So, yeah, then you need like on average 4 years to get an LD5 with this kind of way. And that is making the assumption that all of these rewards are as good right now as they were back in the days, which is definitely not the case. Back in the days, they were way worse than they are right now. So also, 3,000 days doesn't mean shit, because the first 1,500 days, we got jack shite in the first place. So that is just a simple thing that there, like, X amount of days doesn't mean anything. It means, like, how many LD scrolls do you pull? And then you could argue, yeah, some people are more lucky than others. Yeah, that's definitely true. That is definitely true. Am I being one of the more lucky ones? Well, apparently, if you pull a Tion Leng, you are claimed to be the most insane lucky one. Even if it took you like 780 scrolls to get one LD5 and then you pull another one after 3 weeks. you're insanely lucky because you pulled the good one. That is the typical thing. I think we're also kind of on the point that if any streamer pulls anything, it's like, oh my god, that is not allowed. Even if you did 1,000 scrolls, it's not allowed. Well, then again, I don't care. If I pull a good unit, I'm happy with it, and I don't have to defend having a shit unit such as Wooyoung, which apparently is triple S, and I still haven't figured out why that part is. And I'm pretty sure that guy doesn't know either. But either how, just wanted to crunch those numbers, just a little bit of a different video. I think a lot of people are like, numbers, we don't care, we just want the final result and then just see whatever the hell that is. But yeah, you can get up to 500 LD scrolls once again, excluding World Boss, Siege boxes, events, subjugation, and codes. And I can honestly say from events last year, if you would crunch down all of the numbers from all of the events of last year, I think we would have gotten over 100 extra LDs. Maybe even more, because already we got 10 for December. We got another 100 of those 10-year scrolls, which is equal to about 13 or 14 LD scrolls. We got that twice, so that is already adding in like 28. We're already at 38. And then I'm just naming like the 3 biggest one. But then there's also a lot of things that's like, oh, you got 1 LD over there, 2 all attributes over there, 1 extra LD over there. I'm easily sure that you got like another 100 extra or so. And if you want to double the value of the amount of LDs that you have, you got to be spending 5k. A year, which is a little bit too much. So do not spend that if you cannot miss that money. If you don't give a shit about that money, then do. But if you do give a shit about that money, then don't. Simple as that. So yeah, that is my video for today. Guys, I hope you enjoyed it. Definitely numbers that I haven't seen before, and I would say I was estimating about like 300 LDs a year on this or so, but it was definitely a little bit more than that. Guys, thanks a lot for watching, and see you as always in the next one. Thanks for watching. If you would like to see more guides, join the Discord and check out the content tab for the guide video archive, which contains all of the guides that you might need. Hope to see you there.